Welcome to another episode of JK Sports. I'll be your host, Keenan Miller, and we're going to be talking about Major League Baseball, and we're going to be doing a mid-season review. Going to update you a little bit about what's been going on, who's where, what at least I think my new predictions will be, and we're going to compare them to our old predictions. Speaking of which, a little quick update for you on what the predictions were. For my playoff, the way I had it was in the National League. I had Washington winning the East, Pittsburgh winning the Central, San Francisco winning the West, and the two wild cards would be St. Louis in the 1 spot and Miami in the 2 spot. In the American League, I had Boston winning it, Detroit winning it in the Central, the Angels winning the West, Baltimore in the 1 spot for the wild card, and Kansas City in the 2 spot for the wild card. Now, reminder: these predictions were made before the season was played at all. I have new predictions that will be coming out at the end of this video. My partner, his predictions were very similar, but there were some differences. He had Washington winning the East this is for the National League. He had Washington winning the East, St. Louis winning the Central, the Dodgers winning the West, the Mets taking the first wild card spot, and Pittsburgh taking the second. And in the American League, he had Boston winning the East, Detroit winning the Central, Los Angeles Angels winning the West, Toronto in the first wild card spot, and the White Sox in the second wild card spot. Those are his preseason predictions. Sadly, he can't be with me today to make predictions at the end, but you know, stuff happens. So now to get to the Major League Baseball season as it stands right now. This is the standings as of, I believe, July 25th. So obviously, since baseball is an everyday sport, these are going to change from day to day. So, bear with me. In the East, we have a little bit of a shocker. The Yankees heading up the number 1 spot at 54-42, followed by Toronto at 50-49, Tampa Bay at 49-50. Baltimore at 47-49, and the real shocker is Boston in last place, 12 games back at 43-55. It's been a really strong showing from the Yankees this season. A-Rod, I mean, you could argue HGH, performance enhancers, whatever you want, but with everything that's happened in the last couple of years, he's going to be tested extra hard. So anything he's doing right now, at almost age 40, actually basically he's like a couple days away from age 40, so might as well say it. 23 home runs and still batting .270. The guy's a monster. I mean, it's incredible what he's doing. And they've really found their niche niche, I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce that word, with pitching. With Pineda and Eovaldi, each with 9 wins. Eovaldi's more with run support. He has an ERA over 4. But still, to get 9 wins, it's pretty impressive for Eovaldi. And Pineda, he's starting to show why the Yankees gave up so much in that trade for him, even though it turned out not to be so much. And then Tanaka with 7 wins also. And where they've really been killing it is in the back of their bullpen. Dellin Betances, I think 2-time All-Star now, maybe 3. I think just last year and this year he made the All-Star game. As a setup man, he's an absolute monster in the 8th inning. And Andrew Miller to close it for him. They've really found something in him. I wish the Marlins would have found that when they had him, but whatever. So yeah, that's really the main reason why they've been so good this year is because of their pitching. Moving on to the AL Central, um, little shock here. Not that they're in the lead, just that who's not in the lead. Kansas City's leading the division at 58 and 38. Minnesota in second, a little bit of a shocker there, 52 and 45. I thought they were having more of a rebuilding year, but they're winning games and they're in that playoff race right now. Detroit, that's the shocker. They're 48 and 49. It's actually a losing season right now at 10.5 games back. Everybody expected them to take the division far and away. The White Sox in fourth at 45 and 50. And then Cleveland, the bottom, 45 and 51. Still not a bad record, just that division is pretty strong top to bottom. But yeah, we got Kansas City. I mean, what more can you say about them? They just know how to play team balls. Like I said in the preseason predictions, they just have a cohesiveness about them. They know how each other works, and they trust each other. Real bright spot though has been Lorenzo Cain. He's having a pretty outstanding year, batting .310, 10 homers, 18 stolen bases. He's on pace for 2020. He's got a shot at 30-30, but I don't think he'll do it, at least not on the home run portion. But to do that while still batting over 300, it's very impressive. And the real shocker is I'm pretty sure everybody thought going into the season their ace was going to be Giordano. No question. And right now it's Edinson Volquez, 9 wins and a 3.15 ERA. He's really the workhorse for them this season. And that they're definitely making a move with their pitching. So yeah, that's kind of how the Central is playing out right now. Onto the West, where things are very interesting for different reasons. It's interesting in one aspect because the Angels are maybe the best team in the American League. Right now, they don't have. I'm not saying they have the best record. I just think they might be the best team in the American League right now. They're at 54 and 43. And then in a virtual tie with them, they have one more win, but they also have one more loss, is Houston, the real shocker there. Everybody thought they're completely rebuilding. They've had the number 1 pick in the draft in the last couple years. And everything's just clicking for them. They're at 55 and 44. In third, you have Texas, 47-49. Fourth, we get Seattle at 45 and 53, and in last, Oakland, 44 and 55. Going back and reviewing the top as far as why the teams are in the lead. Obviously, with the Angels, you don't really need to put too many points on it. Everybody pretty much knows who follows baseball. You got Pujols and Trout tearing it up right now, each with 29 home runs, which lead all of baseball. To have the 2 people with the most home runs tied on one team is just ridiculous. And then Trout, being the MVP that he is, he's also leading all of baseball in runs scored with 72. What can you say about him? He's just a monster. I mean, obviously he's focusing. I guess he's focusing a little bit more on power than speed right now, because I think he only has about somewhere around 5 or 6 stolen bases, which for Trout is very little. And he's also striking out a lot more. He's already over 100 strikeouts, which is not completely uncharacteristic of him, but it's a little more than we're used to. Pujols, on the other hand, is complete opposite. Not very many strikeouts. His walk-to-strikeout ratio is what it was in his prime with St. Louis. I think he has like 11 more strikeouts than walks. It's ridiculous. And some real surprising things with the Angels is who is leading their pitching. Uh, most most people, when they think of the top of the Angels rotation, you think of Jared Weaver, no question. He's not having that great of a year. He's still not bad. But Garrett Richards at the top with 10 wins, and then Hector Santiago with a 2.3 ERA. Those two guys have been destroying this year. And then Houston, the other team in a virtual tie, like I said, they're doing it with just complete youth. The main core of their team that's performing and getting them wins on the offensive side, you got Altuve, Springer, and Correa, all 25 years old or younger. And for those who don't know, that's I believe it's Jose Altuve. I don't know why I don't know his first name. George Springer and Carlos Correa. Just so you can look them up if you don't know who they are. Yeah, and the real shock has been the top of their order, their rotation. Two guys who have just been killing it. Colin McHugh, he's got 11 wins already, which is disgusting. He's right up there towards the lead in baseball. I think the major league leader right now has 13 wins, so he's only 2 back of the major league leader. And Dallas Keuchel, who is putting together a Cy Young caliber year. I don't know if he'll win it, but he's certainly in the conversation. He's got 12 wins, a 2.12 ERA, and he's thrown already 144 and a third innings, all of which are second in all of Major League Baseball. Those are some pretty monster numbers right there. And to top it off, they recently just acquired Scott Kazmir to be the third guy in their rotation. So look for them to get a little better throughout the rest of the season, because now they have that third guy who can help carry them a little bit more, and they won't have to score as many runs with him as their third guy in the rotation. So that's the West and how they stand right now. Now for the National League, we're going to start with the East. You got Washington in the lead. Normally, not much of a shock, but with the way the beginning of the season played out, with the way the Mets just rocketed up there and took the lead, for Washington to have the lead now in the East is pretty impressive. And yeah, they're at 52 and 44. Mets in second, not far behind at 50 and 48. Atlanta in third at 45 and 52. Miami at 41 and 57 is in fourth, and coming in last and at the bottom of the barrel in all of baseball right now is Philadelphia Phillies, 36 and 63. Yeah, with Washington, I mean, it's the same names that you hear over and over again carrying them. You got Bryce Harper, 27 home runs, and the impressive thing about that is he's batting .333. 27 home runs is not a shock from Bryce Harper. If he's healthy, he's definitely one of the better power hitters in baseball. People have known that since high school. In high school, he had like a 500-foot home run. So he's had power for a long, long time. But to be hitting .333 also is very impressive from him. Max Scherzer, obviously, the top of their rotation. 10 wins already. 2.33 ERA, just a monster, and 166 strikeouts. I mean, guy's a beast. I would not want to face him even on my best day. Not that I'm amazing or anything, but just, it's a saying, I guess. Then the bottom, not the bottom, but the next two guys in their rotation have really been holding down the fort too. Jordan Zimmerman and Gio Gonzalez with 8 and 7 wins respectively. And where they have really been winning games is at the very end. Their closer, Drew Storen, 29 saves and a 1.73 ERA. Absolutely dirty. Now to the NL Central. In other words, the cream of the crop, at least at the top of the division. Real shocker here, number 1, St. Louis, 63-34, best record not only in the National League, but best record in all of baseball. Number 2, Pittsburgh, 56-41, which is the second best record in the National League and third best record in all of baseball. So that's why I said cream of the crop right here at the top of the division. In third, a little bit of a shocker here. I didn't expect them to be good for another 2 years maybe. But Chicago Cubs, 51-45. In fourth, you got Cincinnati at 43-52, and Milwaukee in fifth at 43-55. Yeah, like I said, St. Louis and Pittsburgh, they're just ridiculous teams. To put a highlight on why St. Louis is in the number 1 spot, not that I need to, it's pitching. Their pitching is just disgusting. You have between Michael Wacha, Carlos Martinez, and John Lackey, who have 11, 10, and 9 wins respectively. They all have an ERA of 3.2 or less. Wacha being the guy at 3.2, Carlos Martinez at 2.51, and Lackey at 2.88. That's just a dirty trio. Lackey is the surprise there, actually. Martinez has had the stuff. He's just young. Nobody knew if he could put it together. He certainly looks like he is. Michael Wacha, building on the year he had last year, which was pretty good. It wasn't like Cy Young caliber, but it was like, he might be in the conversation in the future, and it's looking like it. On offense, they just know how to find guys and have the same guys perform year in and year out. It's their whole team really on offense. They don't really have one guy that they build around. Between Peralta, Colton Wong, Jason Hayward, and Matt Holliday, and now they have this new guy, Grichuk. I got to be honest, I don't know much about him, but looking at his numbers this year, they're just ridiculous for a guy his age. I think he's 23 years old. And then same story as with Washington as far as the end of games, being able to close it out. They got Trevor Rosenthal at the back, who he has ridiculous power behind his fastball, routinely hitting 100 miles an hour. I don't know if he's been doing that this year. I haven't followed him much this year, but I know in the past he's been able to do that. But 30 saves already, 1.75 ERA. And here's the impressive thing, including Trevor Rosenthal, St. Louis has 4 guys in their bullpen, each with 20 or more innings and a sub-2 ERA. I don't care who you are, to have 4 guys with those numbers is incredible. To have 2 guys with those numbers is incredible, but 4, it's insane. So yeah, that's the reason St. Louis has the best record in baseball. Their whole team works on offense. They got monster starters and the best bullpen in all of baseball, no question. Moving on to the NL West, we got real shock, top 2 positions. The Dodgers are sitting at number 1, 56-43, and the Giants not far behind them at 53-44. Then you got San Diego and Arizona in a virtual tie for third. San Diego at 46-52, Arizona at 45-51. And then Colorado at number 5 at 41-54. And yeah, almost the same kind of thing with the Dodgers. It's really their whole team that's performing. But unlike St. Louis, they have a couple guys that they kind of center around and depend on, and the other role players kind of do their part. Obviously, in their rotation, you have Clayton Kershaw. I don't really need to hammer too many points about him, but 8 wins this year already, which compared to some of the other guys I've talked about, not that much, but a 2.51 ERA kind of speaks for itself. I mean, the guy just doesn't allow many runs. So 8 wins is more of a testament to either the bullpen losing a couple for him or his offense not providing anything for him. Otherwise, he obviously would have more. And then another guy in their rotation who's having a monster year. 9 wins for Zach Greinke and an incredible 1.3 ERA, which no question leads all of baseball by a lot. To have a 1.3, like sub 1.5 is incredible this far into a season. And the nice surprise for them has been Mike Bolsinger, who they got from Arizona. I'm not sure how they acquired him, if it was via trade or if Arizona dropped him and they just picked him up. But he's been a nice addition this year with a 2.79 ERA. And on offense, like I said, you got your main people that you build around. Adrian Gonzalez, who in our preseason video we even mentioned he's still a beast, and this shows we were right. 21 home runs and a 297 batting average. The guy just continues to know how to hit. And another guy we talked about in another one of our videos in our Rookie of the Year, when we talked about Rookie of the Year, Jock Peterson helping lead that team with 20 home runs. He might even be the favorite for Rookie of the Year over Chris Bryant. But yeah, he's really been performing. And then they have their backup crew. Well, not backup, but the secondary guys in their lineup. Howie Kendrick, Yasmani Grandal, and Andre Ethier, with each hitting 290, 286, and 281 respectively. Just killer lineup, killer rotation. That's why they're leading the West right now. So that's a nice review of the season and how it's going so far. And now for my mid-season predictions of what will happen. Obviously, these are going to be very different from the preseason predictions because now I actually have something to go on. How players are performing and how teams are also performing, which feels like a weird sentence. I don't know why. So in the American League, we have for the East, as well as the Yankees are doing, I don't know if they can pull it out, but I also don't see a team coming back and taking it from them. So I'm going to have to say the Yankees win the East, although I do think either Toronto or Baltimore will make it close. So yeah, I have the Yankees winning the East now. In the Central, I have Detroit coming back a little bit. They're just too good to not come back and be contenders for the Central. But Kansas City, with the lead that they have right now and the way they're playing, Kansas City is definitely going to take the Central, no question. I think Detroit makes it close, but Kansas City takes it. And the West, the Angels are showing, even though Houston got out ahead and was leading the division for a while, the Angels have the team to consistently win, not just go on runs. I think the Angels win that division. As far as the number one team, I think it will end up being the Angels, having home field throughout the American League playoffs. And for the wild cards, I do think Houston stays in it. I think Houston stays in the playoffs. Somehow, never would have. before the season started, everybody would have said I was crazy for picking Houston to make the playoffs, but with the season they're having, and the addition of Scott Kazmir to help that rotation out, I think they definitely make the playoffs as the number one wild card, followed by Detroit as the number two. So that's who I have in my playoffs for the American League. For the National League, Washington is way too good in the East. They definitely take it. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Washington wins out that division. In the Central, little bit of a change. My top two are definitely no question the same. St. Louis and Pittsburgh. I'm gonna flip them. I think Pittsburgh does make it close, and it'll still be, like I said in the preseason prediction, only separated by a game, maybe two. But I do think St. Louis wins the division, followed closely by Pittsburgh for the best record in the National League. And then in the West, you got the Dodgers and Giants battling out. They're within 2 games of each other. So I'm going to stick with my preseason prediction, and I'm going to have the Giants overtaking them in the second half of the season. So I'm going to have even though, like I was just talked about the Dodgers pitching and how amazing they've been this season. San Francisco it's kind of like Kansas City. They just have that team cohesiveness. They know how to play with each other. Can't really be explained. So yeah, I have them winning the West, Dodgers close behind. And so for my wild card spots, obviously with St. Louis winning the Central, I have Pittsburgh as my number 1 wild card spot. And for my number 2 spot, it's between the Mets and the Dodgers. I'm going to go with the Dodgers as that number 2 wild card. So in the East, I have Yankees, Kansas City, the Angels. Angels with the number 1 spot, with Houston and Detroit as the 1 and 2. And then St. Louis with the 1 seed in the National League, with San Francisco 2nd, Washington 3rd, then Pittsburgh and LA as the 1 and 2 wild cards. So let's do American League first. So I would have Detroit at Houston. I think Detroit wins that in a 1-game playoff. In 1 game, anything can happen, but I think Detroit just has too much going for them. They're too good of a team. So Detroit would end up facing the Angels, and the Angels take that. Like I said, I think they're the best team in the American League. Then Yankees versus Kansas City. I have Kansas City winning that one. Their team is too good. So for the American League Championship Series, we'd have LA versus Kansas City. I think the Angels take it. I think, yeah. I can't hammer that point enough. Their team is too good. Trout, no question, the best player in all of baseball, helping lead that team. So for the National League, like I said, it would be the Dodgers at Pittsburgh for the wild card game. I have Pittsburgh taking that. So Pittsburgh would face St. Louis in the division series. I think Pittsburgh just doesn't have enough after the 1 game against the Dodgers, with St. Louis getting rest, and having all their pitchers ready to go, waiting for Pittsburgh. I think St. Louis ends up taking that. And then San Francisco versus Washington. I will have Washington taking that. I think the top of their rotation is too good. And Bryce Harper's having too good of a year. So yeah, I would have Washington versus St. Louis in the National League Championship Series. So between Washington and St. Louis, I have St. Louis taking that. Like, their team is too good. Their whole lineup hits. I mean, unlike Washington, you have guys on Washington like Ian Desmond, great players, but when they're batting 230 something, it's not a great average, not for a playoff team, or not for a guy who's a key part of your playoff team, is what I should say. So yeah, I have St. Louis beating Washington. So St. Louis playing the Angels for the World Series, and I think the Angels win it. I think they beat St. Louis. I think they have just enough to beat St. Louis, because that battle against Washington is going to be tough for St. Louis, and I don't think they're going to have enough after that. Angels have a little bit of an easier road, so they'll be a little bit more rested, I think. And yeah, I think Trout finally gets his ring. It feels weird saying finally. He's only in his 4th year, I think. But yeah, the dude definitely deserves it. He is an MVP. He's never finished below 2nd in the MVP in his career, which is astounding. But yeah, I think he gets the ring this year. So those are my mid-season predictions. We might have another video updating the awards. I'm not sure yet, but stay tuned. If you like the video, subscribe, like, comment, send me your feedback. Maybe you disagree with some of the picks I've made. So yeah, get back to me, and stay tuned for more episodes. All right, bye.